If you were to know absolutely nothing about the Hamilton Khaki Field and only heard about its breadth of history secondhand, you probably wouldn't expect such an inconspicuous appearance. Its form was born out of the Second World War, and it served to aid over 1 million US soldiers to eventual victory over the Axis powers. And not to forget, it was one of the first true American-made watches. The Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical has become so iconic in the last 5 years that we'd have a hard time believing anyone familiar with the watch world hasn't heard of it. And in fact, we'd go so far as to say that this bona fide classic may just be the watch you need to own under $500. Alright, so in 1940, shortly before fully involving themselves in the front lines, America provided military aid and supplies to its allies abroad. During this time, they issued a brief to a handful of American watch manufacturers. Hamilton was founded and located in Pennsylvania up until the 70s and 80s. They needed a watch durable enough for the trenches with a hackable caliber to coordinate timing. Luckily, Hamilton had practiced supplying soldiers with pseudo wristwatches converted from pocket watches during the First World War, but didn't realize the magnitude of their task. By 1942, the war had become so large that Hamilton actually stopped consumer production altogether, to focus their efforts to supply the mil-spec GG-W-113 model, which would later serve as the impetus to bring back this consumer model that in today's name is the Khaki Field. Even though Hamilton started as an American brand, Swiss heavyweight Swatch took ownership in 1974 before the Vietnam War ended, and since then the Khaki Field has seen a few iterations, all of which were rebranded for consumers and sold via retailers like LL Bean and Orvis, with the same iconic styling as their standard issue counterparts. In 2017, Hamilton released the Khaki Field Mechanical directly, backed up by modern mechanics, all while staying true to mil-spec form. Let's take a closer look. Where the Hamilton Khaki Field really excels is simplicity. Now, there are plenty of watches that have adopted minimalism as their design language of choice, which we'd be comfortable directly attributing to the influence of Dieter Rams. But there are key differences between minimalism and simplicity. Minimalism implies intention. It actually requires a lot of focused effort to reduce or lessen what's already there. On the other hand, the Hamilton Khaki Field is simple, and the key difference is that it doesn't try hard to come across in a certain style, which is definitely something minimalism broadcasts. We think that's a big part of why the Khaki Field is timeless and why field watches in general are so popular. Simplicity is effortless. The Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical is often touted as the best first timepiece, a gateway drug so to speak, due in no small part to its extremely accessible price point around $500, even experts can get behind. Let's start with the case. The 38mm Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical uses a matte finish stainless steel case with a push-pull crown affording 50 meters of water resistance, a phantom 58-gram weight on the wrist, a thin 9.5mm thickness, and a standard 20mm lug width that affords an enormous variety of straps and bracelets from both Hamilton and a slew of aftermarket brands. Although the case size is small on paper at 38mm, the lengthy 47mm lug-to-lug dimension feels like the watch wears closer to a 39 to 40mm when viewed on the wrist from above, even for our wearer here with a wrist size clocking in just a touch under 8 inches for context. It's one of the very few polarizing aspects. It simply makes it feel as though the watch wraps around the wrist a little more than you'd normally expect from a 38mm case. One big advantage to balance out the lug-to-lug is the height of just 9.5mm. It primarily correlates to the compact H50 mechanical caliber tucked inside, but also these were watches that needed to stay low profile on the wrist during battle to avoid getting hung up on clothing or anything in transit. It really hugs the wrist. So if you're already into thin vintage watches like skin divers, the Khaki Field should fit just how you prefer. We're seeing more and more field watches begin to creep up in vertical height, whether that be a result of thicker automatic movements or mere design choices. The Hamilton Khaki Field has remained pencil thin since its inception, which is actually not far off, seeing as a standard number 2 pencil clocks in just shy of 7.5mm thick. The current Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical 38mm offers a variety of different case finishing options like PVD black, matte bronze, and Hamilton's unique earth color coating. Matte finishes are extremely common in field watches. You can see how something shiny and attention-grabbing would have been a big disadvantage on the battlefield, and the Khaki Field does a great job of creating a matte finish that doesn't look cheap or plastic-like. We spoke about the difference between minimalism and simplicity. While it is highly legible, the field-inspired Zinn 556i strips everything from the dial intentionally, whereas the Hamilton Khaki Field creates simplicity by organizing, composing, and adding in only the essentials. It's a common misconception that Hamilton participated in the same US government program that directly led to the standard issue A11, but the modern Khaki Field's dial design can point directly to the A11 as inspiration, along with an older Hamilton field watch iteration that was appropriated from simple pocket watches during World War I. The Khaki Field uses a ring of large 12-hour Arabic numerals encircling a smaller ring of 24-hour Arabic numerals, both of which are encircled by a minute track of small white indices, punctuated by inverted triangular indices at each hour. We also spoke about thickness, well, actually thinness in this case, and what's really fantastic about the Khaki Field is that all the dial's white and beige details are applied flat and set straight onto the dial itself. Not only does this provide great visibility via the value contrast against the darker background, but without the use of, say, raised numerals for each hour marker, the hour and minute hands can actually sit lower in the case under the sapphire crystal, yet another attribute allowing for the watch's thin 9.5mm height. Now for us, the only thing that's slightly underwhelming is the lume, especially for a military-inspired utility-first watch. Hamilton uses the highest quality superluminova, but as you can see, it doesn't use much of it. Only the inset hour and minute hands as well as each triangular hour marker along the minute track glow a neon green, and it doesn't hold its luminosity for very long, fading quicker than would be ideal for a toolish field watch. Although the Arabic numerals are set in a bright white and certainly pop against the dial background in full sun, they're not lumed, which significantly decreases the overall utility in low light situations. If this is a deal breaker, Hamilton does make a very similar 38mm automatic version that does feature lume numerals with a full stainless steel or titanium cased construction, both of which drop shortly after the mechanical release. As its engine, the Khaki Field Mechanical uses the Hamilton Caliber H50 as an exclusive in-house 17-jewel fully analog caliber, designed by Hamilton themselves based on the ETA 2801-2 for full self-winding capability, and it builds in a mighty 80-hour power reserve, or enough to sustain about 3 full days per wind. Part of the value proposition and the allure of the modern Hamilton Khaki Field is first the form factor that suits just about any wrist, but as a close runner-up, the modern mechanics are all produced in-house from a verifiable American-Swiss powerhouse in the watchmaking world. You are going to be hard-pressed to find another full mechanical $500 watch with an 80-hour power reserve courtesy of a fully in-house movement. That's just a fact. Like the different case options, the Khaki Field Mechanical also offers several colors of 20mm NATO straps with leather strap loops and pin buckles, another cue of the field watch style. And if you're not a fan of the textile look, you can pick up one of a dozen full-grain leather options, or opt for something as non-conventional as a rubber strap, since the 20mm lug width makes finding third-party options a breeze. We like the standard OD green NATO for its reminiscence, making it feel distinctly true to the mid-century field watch ethos. While lightweight and breathable, the strap feels premium, with a nice thickness that's sure to form fit to the wrist comfortably over time with regular use. What's more, the leather outline hole punches will be sure to keep the strap in good standing over time without any rips or tears. That all being said, the Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical 38mm is simply put iconic. A rugged build, clear-cut presentation, an impressive movement, and rich history collectively come together to make this watch a benchmark in its space. Unequivocally, one of the best field watches currently sold.